One day more, another day, another destiny, this never-ending road to Calvary.
Yes, this never-ending road of severe weather is finally coming to an end. We've got one more day of widespread thunderstorms capable of producing strong, damaging tornadoes. One more dawn of a red sky from which hail the size of tennis balls will fall, and one day more of an enhanced level 3 risk of severe weather. We'll get into all of those details, plus we'll take a look at your Memorial Day forecast, and some of you will be quite warm while others are pleasant. So stick around. We've got a lot to unpack, including all the weather, because this is Cold Rain's Weather World, and it starts right now. Hello, friends, and welcome into another exciting edition of Cold Rain's Weather World, the fastest growing new weather show on the internet, and it wouldn't be that way without all of you. So those of you that have signed up and subscribed, thank you for doing that. If you haven't yet subscribed, please consider doing so. We have a lot of fun here. Of course, we cover all things weather. We make sure that you're prepared as you go about your week or your weekend, and we'll take a look at any special or marquee events that are set to impact you. We've got all the weather, and I say that because we have volcanoes and earthquakes and solar and sunspots and asteroids and tsunamis and anything else that could affect you where you are. We'll cover that right here at Cold Rain's Weather World. So if you have a comment, please leave a comment in the comment section. If there's anything I can pray over for you, please put that in there. Pray for me, I'll pray for you. That's what we want to do here at Cold Rain's Weather World. And of course, give the video a like if you like the content. This all helps YouTube push it out to more people so they can see it, and hopefully they like it too. And certainly I'm happy to do what we need to do to make the show valuable for you. And so that's the primary goal here. I want to have fun too, and I enjoy this, but I want you to have a good time and find value in it too. And one of the ways I provide value, at least I hope is valuable, is I start every show with our Weather IQ question to make us all a little bit smarter about the weather. And today's Weather IQ question has to do with hail. Since we've had so much hail recently, I thought this would be a good one to start with today. So here's the question. What is the minimum size for hail to be officially considered severe? We hear a lot about severe hail, and so what does that mean? Is it pea-sized, marble-sized, quarter-sized, or ping-pong ball-sized hail? If you know it, type it in the comment section. If you don't know it, all you have to do is, as usual, wait till the end of the show, and I'll let you know what the answer is. And then you can tell all your friends that you learned that right here at Cold Rain's Weather World. All right, so we're going to do today what we did yesterday, and that is give you the weather forecast for today and for the next few days to round out your work week here at the top of the show. So in case you have any travel plans or outdoor activities, you know how to prepare for those right away. Then we're going to transition and take a look at the severe weather threat that exists this afternoon. We'll look at the long range and take a sneak peek at Memorial Day. I know it's way out there, but we're going to take a look at it anyway. And we're going to have a look and wrap the show up with our geological update and our Weather IQ answer. So I'll have all of those chapters broken out in the description of the video as always, so you can skip around to where you need to get to. And so we're going to start as we usually do with our satellite image, and this is actually the water vapor imagery, and you can tell that by these bright yellow colors and green. Sometimes when those are shown on a map like this, that's indicative of water vapor. And you can see right away an important weather feature. It's this big spin here, this low pressure bringing in moisture around it, counterclockwise spin. This has been responsible for our weather and severe weather that has occurred all throughout the week. We've got a big area down here that's sort of bringing in dry air in the mid-levels. And so this is a big, trough that's punching in here, dry punch that's coming in, and that's going to help clear everything out back here in the Mississippi Valley and set the stage for instability to build as we go through the course of the afternoon. So a lot of cloud cover out here. Some rain is falling out from under some of those clouds. Thunderstorms even back here in western Tennessee, just rolled through Memphis, heading toward Nashville. This will continue to dissipate a little bit as we head through the morning hours. Louisville, you're seeing some rain this morning. Cincinnati, all the way up in here into Minneapolis, Fargo, and up into Wisconsin toward Madison and Milwaukee. Milwaukee. You guys are seeing rain this morning. Not much else out here on the radar, just a few showers and snow showers out in the Rockies. Temperatures this afternoon going up into the 80s and 90s across the south, still approaching 100 southwest of San Antonio, but nothing like the 105.6 that we saw several days ago with high humidity. So we don't have those heat warnings in effect that we did. Cool across the north, 40s up here in the Dakotas and into Minnesota under the influence of northwesterly winds behind that low pressure. 40s, 50s, and 60s across the north where it's below average, much above normal in the southeast. Looking at the alert map this afternoon, not as much as we've seen in previous days. Flood watches are up for most of Kentucky, and a little tip here of West Virginia, southwest tip of West Virginia. We could see several inches of rain, 2 to 4 inches of rain under some of these areas with repeated rounds of torrential downpours from thunderstorms. And so we're going to see that take shape this afternoon. Red flag warnings up here for winds gusting to 40 miles per hour in northeastern Minnesota. So do not burn anything out there. Low dew points, high winds, and we'll see adverse fire conditions develop up there. So be careful up there. Here's the surface map for today. There's that low pressure sitting over Iowa. This is going to move east into the Great Lakes and eventually into the Northeast and sort of stall out and provide a sort of a soggy end of the week for you folks up in the Northeast. In the meantime, big area here outlined with severe weather from essentially St. Louis all the way down here near Shreveport through Huntsville, Jackson, Mississippi, into Asheville, North Carolina, up through Cincinnati and through Indianapolis. And that is our outline for severe weather today. There's even, if you can see this kind of hiding behind the yellow lines here, this red area, this is where our flood threat exists with excessive rainfall possible. But general thunderstorm activity anywhere from Iowa down to eastern Texas into North Carolina, through Virginia up into the Ohio Valley, and then some potential showers around that. Of course, rain activity associated with this low pressure kind of circling around back into the Dakotas, Minnesota. Snow in the higher elevations. So that's what we're looking at for this afternoon. As we take a look at the total rainfall projected by the Weather Prediction Center, several inches of rain where you see these darker purple colors. I think the purple here is an indication of around 1.5 inches, just where you get into the lighter purple. We could see several inches of rain fall near Pittsburgh. And then back over here, this is underdoing this, I think, a little bit, but maybe 2 to 3 inches anywhere in the Kentucky, Tennessee, up into West Virginia. We could see several inches of rainfall. So not a complete, extreme catastrophic flooding event or anything like that, but certainly pay attention for rainy conditions this afternoon, and some of that rain could come down quite heavy and quite quickly as these thunderstorms develop. Now, looking at our upper air pattern for the day, we've got troughing across the north. Of course, this is where we're finding cooler temperatures ridging down near the Gulf Coast. That's where it's a little bit warmer. And this is the 500 millibar height anomaly map, by the way. And it's important to know what's going on upstairs at 3.5 miles because that influences what happens down here at the surface. And what you see up here on this map is these blue colors working in across the northern tier. That is indicative of stormy weather at the surface and definitely cooler than normal temperatures. And we'll see that on our temperature map in a second. Warmer than normal temperatures at the surface under these orange colors down here across the south. And you'd find more tranquil weather under those ridging colors as well. So looking as we go on out through the week, watch what happens. All these blues sort of consolidate in here over the Great Lakes and toward the northeast, and we're going to see unsettled conditions prevail to end the week with cooler than normal temperatures up in the northeast. That's what this is telling us. Working on into Friday, here as we get on into Friday morning, we see a little secondary area of low pressure working into New England. Going to bring some rain up there for you all to end the week. If you're traveling out west, it should be tranquil and nice into the southwestern portion of the country until you get down here into California and up into the Pacific Northwest, where we see another system working in, bringing some unsettled weather out to end the week. Ridging out in the plains to end the week means a lid on the severe weather, at least on a widespread basis. Severe weather likes cool temperatures aloft, not warm temperatures that we see here. So that's what's going on. We get on into the end of the week, a big trough over the eastern portion of the country. That's reflected in our temperature map as well. Looking at tomorrow's temperatures, much like today's, cool across the north, 40s up here in the Dakotas, 50s and 60s everywhere else, 60s in the middle of the country, 70s, and then you get down here to the south, we're in 80s and 90s from Kansas, North Carolina on south. As we look at Thursday, Much the same, the southern extent of the cooler weather is a little farther south. And so what we're seeing is cool across the north, generally 50s and some 60s starting to show back up, and 70s up in Montana, but really cool and chilly up here in the northeast with 40s. Then we start to see that cold front work itself through, and then by Friday afternoon, we're seeing nice temperatures across much of the Central Plains into the Mississippi Valley and into the upper southeast. Going to be cool in New England with rain. The GFS even has a little bit of snow up here. The European keeps it most rain. The snow, of course, would be in the higher elevations up there in the White and Green Mountains and so forth. But cool across the north, warm across the south. And that is your week ahead temperature forecast, looking at how everything shakes out from a precipitation standpoint starting tomorrow morning. Big low pressure moving into the Great Lakes area, bringing plenty of rain. Got a frontal zone sort of extending back here. This area of unsettled weather that you see here is kind of indicative of that. Thunderstorms, possibly some severe in the first half of the day in Virginia, eastern Virginia, and North Carolina tomorrow. But as we go on through the rest of tomorrow evening, that low just sort of sits and spins over the Ohio Valley. We start to see a secondary system develop off the coast, move into New England as we get on into Thursday. Lower New England, eastern Great Lakes, you're seeing plenty of rain out of this. New system works into the west coast and starts to dive south into the plains. Could set off some shower and thunderstorm activity Friday afternoon, but we don't look to have a widespread severe weather outbreak. And then this low pressure just crawls up into Maine, keeping northern New England and the eastern Great Lakes unsettled in time for the weekend, with a few more showers and thunderstorms in the plains. And that is your work week forecast. Today marks the 12th anniversary of one of the costliest tornadoes ever to strike the United States. Incidentally, it's the last time the country was hit with an EF5 tornado. Take a look.
This is going to be a very large tornado.
We have large debris in the air. Here it is, Damon, right in front of me.
That are living in Westmore. If you're living along Southwest 149th Street, South Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, that was the Moore, Oklahoma tornado of 2013, which ironically took a similar path to the 1999 Bridge Creek tornado, which was also an F5, be an EF5 by today's standards. But the Moore tornado was a very large and extremely violent EF5 and took aim on Moore on the afternoon of May the 20th, 2013. Peak winds were estimated between 200 and 210 miles per hour. It was over a mile wide, and it killed 24 people and injured 212 others. Estimated damage costs were around $2 billion. The Joplin tornado actually was costlier at over $3 billion. But it has been, and it's unbelievable, but it's been 12 years since the last EF5 struck the U.S. There were a few violent tornadoes the other day. One was measured at 190 miles an hour, which is an EF4. So hopefully we don't see any EF5s anytime soon. So as I said at the top of the show, we've got one more day of severe weather possible through this afternoon before things quiet down. There's a large area of enhanced risk, including most of Kentucky, the Boot Hill of Missouri down here into Jonesboro, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, Jackson, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, right on the border of Atlanta here, most of Tennessee, surrounding that from St. Louis down to Shreveport, over to Atlanta, Greenville, Asheville, North Carolina, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indianapolis. So all of you are under the slight risk, and then surrounding that, we've got a marginal risk. So anybody in these areas could see severe weather this afternoon. Greatest threat for tornadoes in the enhanced area, with a 10% hatched area covering most of western Tennessee, northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, and parts of Kentucky here. We could see EF2s or higher. Wind shear and instability are going to overlap best in those areas. Supercells are going to start off this afternoon. They're going to quickly form into clusters and line segments, which will maximize the wind threat, but hail is going to be predominant back here along the Mississippi River, right between Tennessee and Arkansas and places like that, where we see the best chance for large hail, tennis ball size, maybe even larger than that, but 15% risk surrounds that. Wind threat is going to be maximized in central Tennessee and northern Alabama and south central Kentucky, where those line segments are going to occur. It's going to help organize the wind threat, so we're going to see swaths of high winds gusting into the 60s, maybe even 70 miles per hour later today. And so we've got a slight risk of wind surrounding that, a 15% chance. And that's what the severe weather threat looks like this afternoon. If we take a look at our wind and the mid-levels of the atmosphere, again, we look at mid-level wind, and look what's going on here with our mid-level wind. I'm going to draw this so you can see this well. Winds are coming in from the mid-levels through this whole area out of the southwest. You see these streamlines here, that's where winds are coming in. And so that's what's going on with our mid-level winds. We've got this jet streak that's up here too by these orange colors. This is going to spread in. It's going to weaken a little bit, but still it's plenty of wind up in the mid-levels to create enough shear given the instability that's present to create thunderstorms. If we take a look at our winds in the low levels, look at this. Look at these low-level winds. What direction are they coming in from? Out of the southwest. So you see that? You've got wind in the mid-levels coming in at the southwest, winds coming out of the southwest at the low levels. That creates turning with height. That's why you see these tornado hatched areas of tornadoes with potentially strong tornadoes possible, because we've got good wind shear, good turning with height as we get into the afternoon. Cape values this afternoon, strong across Tennessee. And you see this recover as we get on into later this afternoon. Look at this. We get into about 4 or 5 o'clock. 1 to 2,000, even higher amounts of Cape in here, joules per kilogram. And then that will persist a little bit into the evening hours, early evening, before the thunderstorms eat it up and the atmosphere cools off. So we've got plenty of Cape this afternoon, and we have our strong or significant tornado parameter. And these values, you can see these values kind of extend from Arkansas, where we're not going to see a lot in the way of tornadoes back here, but check this out, because as we get into this afternoon, this is where we're going to really be focusing our attention on strong tornadoes. So watch what happens to this parameter. We get into where the best wind shear and the best instability overlap, and you see areas of 1 or greater. That's what we're looking for, and certainly those show up in our focus area. So again, strong, significant tornadoes, EF2s or higher, not out of the question here. Looking at how this comes together through the course of the afternoon, we'll get into mid-afternoon, we start to see thunderstorms develop, supercells will develop, some thunderstorms up here in Missouri and Illinois, all the way down into Mississippi, through Tennessee and Kentucky. And as we go through the evening, these sort of consolidate in these little line segments and bow echoes. So this will eventually die out as we get way into the overnight hours. But you'll see that persist through the at least early evening hours, and then again it dies out late. But we're looking for line segments and bowing echoes to be the predominant mode of convection later on. QLCS, quasi-linear convective systems, will begin to take over there, and supercells, discrete supercells, will no longer be as much of a threat, and those are the ones where you get big tornadoes. So that's what's going on this afternoon. Tomorrow, a marginal threat of severe weather exists in here. Let's take a look here. I'll show you. So we don't want to go to watches. We want to go to convective outlooks here, and I'll show you this one. So marginal risk from most of Virginia, eastern Carolinas, up and down the southeastern seaboard. As that frontal zone sort of sweeps off the coast, we'll see shear and instability be there in the morning, enough to create a marginal risk that will abate as the afternoon wears on and that frontal zone pushes off. Now, looking back at our upper height map, again, this is a larger view. This is showing North American view. As we get on into Saturday, look what happens. Saturday, big trough over the east. We still got unsettled weather up in New England. And watch what happens as we go on out in time. Sunday, that finally is lifting out, and we get on out here. We get a big ridge out west, and that trough just renews itself in the east. So as we get on out toward the end of May, look at this. Ridging out west, troughing in the east, so it's going to be cool out here in the east. Will it be dry? That's the question mark. We're not sure yet. So for your Memorial Day weekend, not 100% sure if it's going to be dry or not, but it looks like it kind of lean in the dry direction, but certainly cooler in the east, warmer in the west, before things kind of maybe change around as we get on later into June. Looking at the temperatures here, temperatures are cooler up north as we get in. This is Saturday and Sunday, starting to see cool temperatures prevail in the east as we get on into next week, end of next week, mid next week, end of next week. Look at this. Temperature anomalies, cooler than normal in the south and southeast. Much of the eastern seaboard is looking nice as we get into next weekend. Warmer out west under that ridging that we saw. So I would say as we get on toward the end of May, early June, we're looking for cooler weather in the east, warmer weather out west. Unsettled weather, we're not looking at any big systems coming in, so probably not going to see any big widespread severe weather outbreaks or anything like that. Looking at the 6 to 10 day from the Weather Prediction Center, below normal in the east, just like what we saw, above normal out west with a ridge out there. Alaska is below to near normal. Hawaii is above normal. Above normal precipitation along the south, where we could see a frontal zone kind of snag up out there, and then above normal out west, above normal in Alaska and Hawaii. And that is your forecast for the long range. And wrapping up here, nothing to show on the volcano front, not much to show on the earthquake front either. Here, let's get our little drawing tool off the picture. But yeah, nothing going on here on the earthquake side. So tectonic activity is very low. Looking at solar's very low too. We've got a coronal hole facing us, but nothing sinister coming out of that. See these geomagnetic storms, we've got G of none, so we don't have any geomagnetic storms here. There's our coronal hole, sunspot activity turning in, but nothing but a filament erupted, and so we don't really see anything coming out of that. It's in a coronal mass ejection out, but that's not going to hit Earth. KP index is low, solar wind is low as well, and the density is low, so we're not really seeing anything going on here. Hey, and you can even order a t-shirt if you'd like to, but nothing going on the solar level either, meaning not much risk of auroras, so nothing to show there. And that takes us into the end of our show and today's weather IQ question answer. So the question was, what is the minimum size for hail to be officially considered as severe? Pea-sized, marble-sized, quarter-sized, ping-pong ball-sized. The official requirement for hail to be severe is quarter-sized hail. So when you see reports of grapefruit-sized hail, that is very, 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 very severe hail. And now you know about hail, and now you know the weather. And of course, as always, this is Cold Rain reminding you that other stations run 24/7, but we've got you covered right here, right now at Cold Rain's Weather World, 4814. And with that, we'll let the cast of Les Mis sing us out.
Tomorrow is the judgment.